repositories. What are they and how do you get them? So what in the world is a Git repository? We know what Git is. It's version control. There's another video about that. But what's a repository? That's a bit jargony, but it's just a special directory full of stuff. For example, I could have a Git repository and I could put stuff from a programming project in it. Various parts of it, libraries, classes, assets. Or I could have a Git repository and I want to make it for a book I'm writing. I could put in chapters, illustrations, fonts, cover blurb. Bam, I have a repository. We often first encounter Git repositories as resources on the cloud, usually at some site like GitHub or Bitbucket. And then we want them on our local computer. If you're a student who's taking my class, this is your scenario. I've given you a repository on GitHub, and you need it on your local computer. To do that, you need to clone it. Here's how it's done. So I'm going to show you how to use Git on the Unix command line. There's lots of GUIs out there that will use the same language, but I'm going to show you on the command line because this is the one thing that is guaranteed to look the same regardless of my operating system. If you aren't sure how to get Git, watch the video on getting Git. So I'm just going to show you the bare minimum Unix that you need to actually make a repository. So in this case, I'm in my user directory, cmagnus, and I'm going to type cd space, and then I'm going to type the entire path to get to the directory that I want to put this in. I am going to show you a shortcut. Go to your Finder or File Explorer. In this case, I want the one for this class. And you can just drag it into the window. It doesn't matter if you're on Windows, Mac, Linux, it'll work. Hit Enter, and now you'll see that I'm in the directory for INF308, which is the one I'm using. So my next step is I want to clone the repository. I'm going to type git space clone space, and then I'm not going to hit enter yet. I'm going to go to my browser. Over here, my browser is in the repository on GitHub that I created when I enrolled my fake account into the class. It's got stuff in it, button here that says code. It's green and inviting. Click that. You'll see two options. One is use SSH, which is a little more complicated, and the other is use HTTPS. HTTPS is easier, so that's what we'll do this time. And all you do is select this URL by clicking the little clipboard next to it, come over here, and paste. The only wrinkle in this entire process is if you are in Windows, you can't paste with Control-V. You'll need to paste by right-clicking the mouse on your Git Bash terminal window, and a little pop-up menu will show up, and you can click paste from there. Now I hit enter. For me, it's starting to clone. Now, the very first time you use a new computer with GitHub, it will ask you to log in. It'll give you a little prompt for the username that's, going to be just down here like all of the other prompts. It'll say username : you type the username, and then it'll ask you for your password. The password will be hidden, and it will not show you little dots as you enter letters. You just have to trust that you're typing what you think you're typing, and then hit enter. And if you typo, you can just retype it. It'll give you a few tries, and that's all you need to do. So now you've cloned the repository, and you can access it through anything. So there's nothing that ties you to the command line. This is my Finder window, and you can see that the repository, the exact same files are here, and I can access them with whatever software I want to. You can make a Git repository just on your local computer. It's pretty simple. Just get a folder and Git in it. So I have a directory here called local example, and there's nothing in it yet, but it's the directory that I want to use to create a Git repository. You can see files on the command line by typing ls. It's the exact same list as I had over here. But if I type ls space -a, it'll show me all the files, even the hidden files. So you can see some files that are hidden that aren't on my list when I look at them in the GUI. I'm going to cd into local example. There's nothing there except for a couple of hidden files, and these are just the link to the current directory and the link to the directory I was just in. All I do here, you don't actually have to type the ls-a or anything. but it sort of can be comforting because making something a Git repository is completely invisible. All I do is type git init, and it says it's initialized it, but if I type ls, I don't see anything. It doesn't look any different. It doesn't look any different over here. But if I type ls-a, I'll see this hidden .git directory, which holds all of the information about the repository in the background, so it's not cluttering my life. So if that directory is there, then I know my git init worked. Just if I ever want confirmation or if I'm not sure if something's a repository or not. So now I have a local directory that is a Git repository, but it's not linked to the cloud in any way. Let me show you what to do if you've been working on it and you want to sync it to the cloud, whether to share it for someone else, whether to share it with someone else, or just to have a backup. It's no longer empty. I went ahead and put a file in it, and I committed that. There's another video on committing things, so watch that. So my first step when I want to do this is to create a new repository on GitHub. I'm going to go to my GitHub account, and if I don't see a shiny green button that says new, which I do right now, but say you don't, just go to your little picture icon thing in the top right corner, go down to repositories, and hey look, going to click that. I'm just going to call it demo. I'll probably delete it when this video is over, so I'm going to make it public. Notice I am not going to click initialize this repository with a README. If I make a README, it's going to have a different history because I will have one file created from my computer and one file created from the cloud, and it's going to clash and get very, very cranky about that. So it's very important that this repository be completely empty. So I'm not going to click this button. I'm just going to go down to create a repository, and bam, I have a repository. GitHub helpfully tells me what to do. It tells me to type git remote add origin and then this URL. I'm not just going to memorize that. I'm going to copy, paste. Then I'm just going to go back, take the second line, copy, and paste. Now I can see it's writing object, blah, blah, blah. It tells me it's gone to the server. Come back here. If I reload this, I'm not going to see this screen anymore. It has my README file in the repository that I made. If you want to learn how to actually commit things to your repository, there's another video about that. Please watch it. Cheers.